Welcome to Pinsar Basketball Live. This is a late one for the OGs, for the community, for basically a lot of people who might have some questions about which direction the Toronto Raptors are going in right now, whether or not they're in good hands, whether all of this will pan out. Does it all come down to getting a top three pick? Is that really what we're hanging our hats on right now? That all this losing will come back to this? If you've been around Raptors social, you've seen a lot of stuff about can Darko coach? Can this European head coach coach? Now, I'm the last person in the world to appeal to authority. It's probably my worst quality in that I don't trust the experts. And frankly, sometimes my life would be better off if I did trust the experts, but I'm a pretty persistent and very stubborn person. And so I always come back to, well, how do I know that the experts aren't lying to me? I'm naturally skeptical. So when the Toronto Raptors were thinking of hiring this coach, Darko Rajakovic, I wasn't petitioning for him. There's a few reasons for that. Number one, he's from my city and from my country. And I thought that it might just seem a little bit blatantly biased for me to push it. Number two, I had heard through the grapevine that he wasn't ready, that he himself did not feel that he was ready. And so I just let it go and I pushed Jordy Fernandez, who is doing a fantastic job in Brooklyn, by the way. And I respect Jordy a lot. But there was a reason why Darko got this job. And it's because he's a very, very special coach. And the Toronto Raptors are very lucky to have him. And despite what some people in the media might want to say about his X's and O's acumen, and some people may look at some of the funky lineups that he's run out over the last 2 years, and they just don't understand it. They don't understand it. Now, to back up for a second on the appeal to authority, I've been very critical of past head coaches. I've been critical of Jay Triano. I didn't know more about basketball than Jay Triano, but I was certainly critical of Jay Triano. I routinely called Dwayne Casey out for his lack of adjustments. What did I know about basketball to be able to do that? Sometimes it feels nice to just write stuff on an internet forum and have people react to it. It makes you feel good, makes you feel smart, maybe helps you, shit test some of the stuff that you're saying. You get some feedback on it. Feels good, feels great, right? Sometimes you make a little bit of sense, people clap, you get a little bit of approval. That's good. But I have learned that over time, there are special people, special minds who are so honed in on this one thing. They're so good at this one thing that sometimes you just need to learn to trust them. I think Raptor fans are familiar with this type of mind because we have one, and we've had one for the last 12 years in Messiah Ujiri. There was this old statement in Raptorland, trust in Messiah. He knows what he's doing, trust in Messiah. And it led to a championship. It led to We the North. It led to a lot of great basketball. It led to the greatest stretch in Raptors history. And now Messiah is asking you to trust him again, that we will win again in Toronto. And some people are saying, Cap, no. You're washed. You don't know what you're doing. Because the track record has not been spectacular the last 4 or 5 years. Assets have gone out the door for jack shit. Things have been held on too long. They've waited too long to move the table. And it's very easy to be a Sunday morning head coach or an armchair GM and just sit here and say, well, this didn't work out, so you're an idiot. And the Delano Banton thing didn't work out, and this pick didn't work out. And look, we just surrendered a lottery pick, so you're dumb. But the truth is that I have learned to trust Messiah a lot more than I would like to admit. There's another special mind in Toronto as well, and his name is Darko Rajakovic. When the Raptors hired Darko Rajakovic, I didn't just sit there and listen to what the media had to say about Darko or what Darko had to say about Darko, because that's press. I went and I did my own research on what the people who he had coached had to say about him, the people who knew him, the people who came up with him had to say about him. And it was the most unique opportunity that I could think of in the whole world that I, a Raptors podcaster who covers the Toronto Raptors would have a head coach from my home city coaching in my new city. What a beautiful thing. I never thought it would ever happen, though. If you had asked me the day before Darko Rajakovic was hired, what are his chances? He was the only coach in the whole world that I followed on Instagram before his Instagram moved to private. He's the only coach that I knew people who really knew him. And I never would have thought in a million years that he would have gotten this job. I thought maybe the accent would be too much. I thought maybe there would be so much trepidation about hiring another Serbian coach after what happened in Phoenix. I thought to myself, European coaches usually don't get these types of opportunities. David Blatt didn't work out in Cleveland. There's a lot of European coaches, and they come in with this EuroLeague experience, but Darko isn't your average EuroLeague coach. He's not your average European coach. He spent his time and he cut his teeth in some of the best organizations in the world. OKC, Memphis. These are the places where Darko Rajakovic learned the NBA game. And these are some of the best places in the world to learn that game. And he comes to Toronto not as a fish out of water, or as some people would have you believe, as a new coach, but rather someone with almost 3 decades of coaching experience. Someone who has a proven track record with players like Mikal Bridges. Someone who, Desmond Bane, a late first round pick who inked a max contract, almost singled out as being responsible for his development. And here we are in Toronto today, and we are ignoring the elephant in the room. Everyone got better under Darko Rajakovic after years of nobody getting better. How many years did you watch OG Anunoby struggle to dribble a basketball? Make the same turnover over and over and over again? How many times did you watch Pascal Siakam make the same mistakes over and over? Pascal got better for sure, but there was a while where he just stagnated and he declined for years, to the point where he's still in a decline, you ask me. Something happened during Darko's first season where I saw Pascal changing his game. He didn't trust the process very much because he had one foot out the door. I saw OG Anunoby making moves to the basket that I hadn't seen before. I saw the best version of Scotty Barnes I'd ever seen. I saw Grady come out, struggle to basically, like a fish out of water, struggle in the G League, struggle in the NBA, and then turn it around in the second half. I saw a player named Jonte Porter who, forget about the end, but think about the beginning. How excited were you about Jonte Porter, a serviceable big that you just picked up for nothing? How did he get so good? Well, he credited his relationship with Darko Rajakovic dating back to Memphis, the trust that he had in Darko. Darko's favorite word is swag. It's not what you would expect his favorite word to be. You might expect his favorite word to be Serbia or Chavapi, but his favorite word is swagger, swag. And he's always trying to infuse this confidence in his young players. We saw a glimpse of it last year as we saw Grady turn it around in the second half. We saw Scotty become a better player. We saw OG become a better player. We saw RJ Barrett just magically become a significantly better player as he got to Toronto, a better player than he'd ever been at any stretch of his career in New York. And we just assumed all of these things were happening randomly. But they weren't happening randomly. They were happening because of this elite coach that you have who is infusing confidence and guidance into these young players. Yeah, we saw 2 players really struggle. Emmanuel Quickley did not look like the Knicks version of Emmanuel Quickley, struggled with decision making, struggled with finishing, moving away from things that he had done his whole life into embracing something new. And there was a lot of resistance at first. But I'll guarantee you right now, if you get Emmanuel Quickley on record, how do you feel about Darko Rajakovic? The first 3 words would be, I trust him. Nick Nurse would repeatedly, after post games, when Scotty would go 0 for 3 or 0 for 4 from a game and pass up numerous threes, he would say, we want him to shoot it. We want him to shoot it. He has the green light. We want him to shoot these shots. But he wasn't shooting them. He was regressing. The most prized asset on your team was regressing. In the first year under Darko Rajakovic, he became an all-star. The work is the work. Scotty works, RJ works, Grady works. These are workers. That's the prerequisite. But you know, Malachi Flynn worked. Jeff Doughton worked. Pascal worked. OG worked. All these guys worked. Why didn't they get better? Why didn't they get significantly better under Nick Nurse? Nick Nurse is such a great coach, right? Why didn't they get so much better under him? Here we are today. You have an undrafted rookie named Jamison Battle, and Darko works with him every day. Every day in practice, he's working with him on his counters, working with him on his footwork, working with him on his release, and he has gotten so much better. With each passing game, you can see new wrinkles in his game. What about Jacoby Walter? Struggling hard with the percentages, but the game is evolving. Darko doesn't cheat you on effort. He doesn't cheat you on the truth. He tells you the truth, but he doesn't blast you in public. Every player has gotten better. Jonathan Mobo, what was the criticism? Doesn't shoot threes. He's taking them. Is he making them at a high enough clip? Sure, maybe not. Jamal Shed, what's the criticism? Doesn't shoot threes. Is he taking them now? Yo, I'm going to tell you something. I watched Jamal Shed probably have the best game of his life in the NBA today. 10 assists. For the first time in my life, I saw a pure point guard wear number 23 for the Toronto Raptors. That's a side swipe at Fred VanVleet, if there ever was one. A pure point guard who a lot of people thought had no chance of being in the NBA long term is looking like he might actually stick around for a really long time. Looking like he might follow in the footsteps of that number 23 that he's become close with, Fred VanVleet, or the number 7 that we all came to know as the GOAT, the greatest Raptor of all time, Kyle Lowry. Following in the footsteps of many undersized guards like Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo, guys who made it through IQ, but ultimately made it through the work, made it through the commitment, made it through guidance, made it by listening to people who knew what they were doing. Do you know how hard it is to convince an NBA player that you know what you're doing? These are people who have been taught by the best people in the world their whole lives. These are people who have been coached at high level AAU, high level Division I, by coaches who have, quite frankly and respectfully to you, have forgotten more about basketball than you will ever know in your life. They've told them to do one thing. Emmanuel Quickley's trainer, his coaches have told him to do one thing. Scotty's trainers, coaches, Leonard Hamilton, all his AAU coaches have told him to do one thing. And here you got this completely different coach, and he's asking you to do something different, and he's asking you to trust him, and you do. That's hard. Getting buy-in is hard. Keeping a locker room together when you're losing is hard. Nick Nurse could not keep a 500 team from unraveling at the seams. That team underperformed every night. It was not a good team. They choked when it was time to put up or shut up. They did not put up. They had bad body language. They had bad vibes. They had bad development. They had bad process. They were a boring, ridiculously trash basketball team to watch and cover. And it is a time that I wish to never go back to as a Raptor fan. And I know I won't because of this man. There's a lot of people in the media that for whatever reason, and I don't know what they've done in their lives to believe that they've earned this, but they think that they know enough about basketball to criticize this man. They think they know that they've followed enough. And I know some of them are in their early 20s, so God help me. But they think that because they have a platform, because they are on national media, because they write for a newspaper about basketball, that they have JD Bunkus thinks that he knows more about basketball than Darko Rajakovic to some extent. I mean, I'm sure he would never say it on record. Doug Smith probably thinks that because he's covered basketball in this city long enough that he knows more about X's and O's and how to develop Scotty Barnes. You at home saying Scotty needs to get his ass in the post. Darko Rajakovic is tripping for saying Scotty needs to take more threes. You might actually be misled through your own hubris, through your own echo chamber, through your own stupidity. You might think that you actually know more about this than this guy does. But let me tell you something that is a fact. Darko Rajakovic knows more about developing basketball players than you know about anything in your life. Darko Rajakovic might know more about developing basketball players than you will ever know about anything in your life. That includes driving cars. He knows more about basketball than you know about driving cars, brushing your teeth, wiping your ass. He literally knows more about basketball than I know about anything. It's a special skill. It is a special skill to be able to connect with a player. It's one thing to know the know, I know what a proper shooting form is. You think I'm stupid? I don't. I've seen greatest shooters ever. I've seen Peja Stojakovic up close. I've seen some of the best shooters in my life in the gym. You think I don't know what a good jump shot looks like? Lord help me if I ever have to communicate that to a basketball player, how to fix their jump shot, how to meet them on their level intellectually, how to get them to believe that I have their best interests at heart. You can't fake this. You just can't. You cannot fake this level of trust. You have to actually be about it. You can't cheat these players, you know what I mean? You just can't. You can't pretend that you know. You can't. You can't go up to a Scotty Barnes, a 5-star recruit, a top 5 pick, a max player, an all-star, and be like, "We're going to fundamentally change your basketball game and you're going to look really stupid for a few weeks, but trust me. Good luck. Good luck with that." These are mega millionaires. They have been told that they are gods their whole lives. It is goddamn hard. They are the biggest ego. I don't mean to be rude about it, but basketball players have a massive ego. They have a massive ego. They walk into a restaurant, the meal is paid, it's free. They walk into any party, cover, no cover, they're in. You don't understand when you make this kind of money and someone who makes 20 times less than you is telling you to trust them. And he's barely older than some of these guys. That's the craziest part. He's not Phil Jackson. He's not Doug Collins. He's not someone who can say, "I won a championship back in the 80s and 90s. Trust me." He's not Larry Brown. He's not Jeff Van Gundy. He's not someone who can say, "Look, I'm on TV all the time. Everyone's gassing me up." He's had to independently He's had to independently form these relationships. I'm always reminded of his first time working with Mikal Bridges, and he said that he didn't say a word to him. He watched him shoot this broken ass jumper for months before he finally approached him. He would say, "How are you?" Whatever. And this is a story that just remained consistent. Whoever you talk to about him, whichever player, whether it was a center or a guard, he loves guards. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a tough time. M. Jones saying, "Rob, you're talking to people that think the only way you can develop a winning team is through top 5 picks." Cool. How many wins do the Washington Wizards have? How many lottery picks do they have? Right? How many lottery picks do the Detroit Pistons have? Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson. How many wins do they have? They have more wins than the Raptors by design, by health, but it's not by process. No, you need more than lottery picks to win in the NBA, friend. You need vision. You need persistence. You need consistency. You need brain trust. You need intelligence. You need buy in. You need culture. Liban Guled saying, "Stop hyping mid coach. Scotty played bad. People like you bothered me 3 hours ago. You don't bother me right now." Here's the thing. I'm not speaking to you. My man Ox, he had this brilliant thing on the panel, and I didn't understand it, but I thought about it for a few hours after he said it. And he said, I'm not here for everyone. I'm not here for everyone. I'm here for you. I'm here for you, but I'm not here for everyone. I'm not here for you. You, I'm not here for. I don't talk to you. You and I cannot communicate. We will never communicate. We're not on the same wavelength. Because the truth is, this irrelevant, irrelevant, bypass, bypass. I got to get better with impulse control, man, because 2, 3 comments like this, I'll rant for like 25 minutes about why you're dumb. Okay. I believe that Darko Rajakovic is one of the best coaches in the NBA. Whether you believe that right now or not is really not my prerogative. I don't really care. I believe this guy is great because everyone has gotten better, and that was the MO. I can only judge you for what you're supposed to do. If you're supposed to win a championship and you get bounced in the first round, you underperformed. If you are supposed to tank and get a lottery pick and you inadvertently make the playoffs, you didn't do your job. How many of you had a job? You ever read the job description? What's your job? What is your job? When Darko Rajakovic took this job, it was very clear what the job was. Make players better. Who hasn't he made better? RJ's better. Emmanuel Quickly's better. Scotty's significantly better. Grady's better. Ochai's better. Jacoby's getting better. Jonte Porter got better. OG Anunoby got better. God damn it, everybody got better. I can't think of one player who didn't. Davion Mitchell, sure. Maybe Davion is not really that much better. Fine. Jamal Shed just played one of the best games of his life. I don't think most of y'all would have pegged him to have a game like this for the first 3 years. He's had it in the first half of his season. Against one of the best defensive teams in the league, Jamal Shed carved them up. That is one of the best perimeter defenses in the league. He was being guarded by some of the best perimeter defenders in the league. Jacoby Walter, while they ignored him for the first bit, he got his buckets against one of the best defensive teams in the league. Grady Dick, every time he got cooked, what happened? Darko calls a timeout, pulls him over, says, why did you do that? He has that communication with him. He can talk to him like that. Because he's not mean, you know? It's different when Nick Nurse calls out Gary Trent in the media and it's not well received. Darko has learned something that I've been trying to learn my whole life, which is how do you communicate guidance to people who don't want to be guided? How do you communicate criticism to people who don't know how to take criticism? See, there's one side of this where you can just assume that Messiah cooked. Messiah's great. Messiah, and he is. Messiah Ujiri is phenomenal. Evaluator of talent. He spots these gems. He rarely makes a mistake in the draft, and when he does, it's usually not as big a mistake as it initially looks like. Bruno Caboclo is certainly a mistake, but it's not quite as big a mistake. He still picked a real NBA player at 20, which is more than you can say for a lot of 20th overall picks. It's certainly not the worst pick in Raptors history. It wasn't a Rafael Arujo. There was some thought behind it. There was some calculation behind it. It didn't pan out. Sometimes that happens. But can you point to something that's not working out under Darko right now? Everything he's supposed to do, he's doing. Now, let me introduce the other part of this equation, which is how do you convince a man to go against his own bread? How do you convince a person to go against their own self-interest? You know, this is the hardest thing in life. How do you convince a person? Number one, on both sides. How does Darko Rajakovic convince Scotty Barnes to take 10 threes when the threes are not going in, but to stick with the process and to trust the process? How does he convince him to do that? One. Number two, how does Messiah Ujiri convince Darko Rajakovic to pretty much throw games in the name of development? You know, in the end, Darko Rajakovic will take this resume to his next job if he ever gets fired. Do you know how much trust you have to have in your employer and in the process? And you know what? It's not even about that. There's no there's no unwritten, like you won't fire me for losing games agreement in Raptors land right now. If the players don't develop, if Darko is not doing a good job, they'll move him. He's not that expensive to move off of. There's plenty of coaches in the league that are currently unemployed that could probably present a lot of pedigree and X's and O's and probably gas up the media a little bit better. He's not a salesman. He's wise with his words, but he's not dishonest. But how do you convince a person to go out and rack up these losses, loss after loss, as this moronic, idiotic media space openly opines that this dude does not know how to coach? Every day in the Raptor spaces, there's some bullshit rhetoric about Darko can't coach. Darko's a good development coach, but he doesn't know how to coach. Where did this narrative come from that he doesn't know how to coach basketball? Are y'all dumb? Do you fundamentally see the fucking lineups that you're playing right now? Rookies are not supposed to be able to beat contenders. You just played back-to-back games without RJ, without Jakob, without Emmanuel Quickly, without Bruce Brown, and you were in it until you weren't in the fourth quarter. But this guy doesn't know how to coach. You've got some of the most open spacing you've ever had with some of the worst talent you've ever assembled, ever. Ever. This is expansion level talent. Okay. Maybe not expansion level, but this is way worse than any level of talent relative to the league that you had under Chris Bosh. Scotty Barnes tonight did not have a single teammate who had more natural talent than the often maligned Andrea Bargnani. I think about what an Andrea Bargnani would have done under a Darko Rajakovic. Probably would have developed into a 6-time All-Star. That's the gap. So you have to trust the ownership. The ownership has to trust the management. The management has to trust the coach. The players have to trust the coach. The coach has to trust the players. Everybody has to trust everybody. And that's how this works. Fundamentally, you have changed the culture in less than one season in Toronto Raptorland. This is a team you can be proud of. This is a team that I'm proud of. This is a team that I'm proud to cover. This is a team I'm happy to watch every night. This was not the case 2 years ago. Trust me, I hated my life watching the Raptors 2 years ago. I prayed every day for those days to never come back. I prayed every day for those days to end, and I got my wishes. I am so lucky that this dude coaches in my city. I'm so lucky that he has so selflessly given himself all these losses in order to build these young kids up. They're not stupid. They see it too. I rebelled against authority my whole life. Every adult was the enemy. Everyone telling me that I was wrong was an asshole. I remember in grade 6, I had a teacher, and I remember prior to the year, like right before you go off to summer break, you get to meet your teacher for the next year. And I got to meet this person, and one of the kids that I knew in the class who was a little bit older than me came out and he said, "You're going to hate this woman. She's the worst. She yells. She's nasty. She's mean. She's a hard marker." So I went into the class and I thought to myself, this is going to be a terrible year. And that summer, I did everything in my power to get out of this class. I asked my mom if I could change schools. I just, what that guy said to me, it just made me scared to be in this woman's class. She's terrible. She's horrible. She's a tough marker. But literally within a week of being in that class, I realized something. She cared. She cared so much. I apologize if I'm coughing. I apologize. I am not feeling my best right now, but I'm trying to push through this. Kind of like Scotty Barnes, not feeling his best through tonight, but trying to push through. So I thought that this woman genuinely just hated kids. But as a kid who was being abused at home and her noticing that, she would often keep me in detention, fake detention, so that she could teach me about other things that I wasn't learning in school. She decided to take an hour and a half every day so that my mom could come home to spare me from whatever was waiting for me at home. And she decided to invest in me. And in turn, I invested myself in the process. I grew confidence. I became a straight A student. This woman, I feel, fundamentally shifted the course of my life that year. And I was supposed to hate her. In grade 12, I had another teacher who was very, very similar. She hated me in the previous year, and I walked into that class in grade 12 thinking, I am going to make sure that this woman does not hate me. And she berated me in front of the class, told me I was sloppy, lazy, uh, didn't apply myself properly, always turned in assignments late. And I was like, yo, why is this woman trying to call me out? She chewed me out in front of my Spanish teacher in my Spanish class for skipping her class and chewed me out in front of my ex-girlfriend. And it was so embarrassing for me. She's telling me I don't want you in my class anymore. You're bad for our environment. You're never there. You're skipping classes. You're not invested. I don't want students like you. It hurt. It hurt. But eventually I decided to buy in. And that woman fundamentally changed my life too. And last year she came to Penn Dance and I was very, very excited about that. I've had some really good people in my life. So I know good ones when I see one. I know good mentors and good teachers when I see them. This is a good one. This is a good one. Yep. That's exactly it. Is that the teacher that came to Penn Dance last year? Yes. Thank you for remembering that. Yes, that is the teacher that came to Penn Dance. I damn near had tears in my eyes thinking about the then and now. See, the truth is that it takes one to know one sometimes, right? I'm not a basketball genius. I'm not Darko Rajakovic. If you gave me Grady Dick and Scotty Barnes in a lab for a year, I don't think I would be able to do 1/100th of what he's able to do with these players. So I have to learn to trust the experts when the experts are so obviously expert. I'm not going to sit here and say Darko Rajakovic is a perfect coach or that he doesn't have a lot to learn or, that he can't learn. But he's not going to learn from people on Twitter. He's not going to learn from the media and he's not going to learn from the Toronto Star. He's not going to learn from the Toronto Sun. He's not going to learn from the JD Bunkus podcast. He's not going to learn from Michael Grange. He has lapped these people. He has lapped these people. His basketball resume speaks for itself. His track record of development speaks for itself. And in time, when it comes to winning basketball games, that too will speak for itself. For now, the charges are just about reputation. They're about the eye test. They're about your vibe test. You think because he smiles that he's soft, but I assure you, as someone who is around a lot of people who know this guy, even on the Raptors, he is the last thing, the last word you would ever use to describe Darko Rajakovic as soft. He holds players accountable. He runs tight practices. He does not let mistakes slide. He's not unfair. He's not cruel. Darko. 100% Darko. Nice one saying these young guys are getting better. He's doing something good. He's doing something great. He's doing something great. With all of these kids, he is doing something truly incredible, which is he's getting professional basketball players to forget about their paycheck, their ego, their all NBA status, their all-star status. He's getting them to forget about performance. He's getting them to forget about their social media trolls. He's keeping everything in house. Nobody wants to go out there and shoot 0 for 10. Trust me. Nobody. Nobody. Do you understand how difficult it is to convince Emmanuel Quickley to fundamentally change his game heading into a contract year? The Raptors rewarded Emmanuel Quickley handsomely, but please understand, when Emmanuel Quickley got here, there was resistance. There was sincere resistance. Do you understand how difficult it is to convince a player who's basically been a score first, score second, score third player his whole life in RJ Barrett to become a facilitator and a significantly better playmaker? Damn, dude. Jordan Wall saying, I need to ask that I feel I was never addressed. How do you think the Raptors have pivoted not getting OG back? I don't know if that's a troll or a genuine question. Yes, for a little while, I did believe that the Toronto Raptors would, in fact, make a pitch to OG Anunoby this offseason. I think it was at least in the cards or at least played out. I don't know of any other serious suitors for OG other than the Raptors and potentially the Sixers, and it obviously drove the Knicks price up to get him. Yeah, see, that's the thing. You need to reconceptualize. Emmanuel quickly does not think he's a sixth man, and Darko does not think Emmanuel quickly is a sixth man. So, having the patience to make Chris Boucher a better basketball player when you're pretty sure Chris Boucher is not going to be in your team next year, that's commitment. But that's consistency too, right? NBA players are such staunch observers of bullshit. It's really amazing when you think about how guarded these people's lives are. And I say this with someone who's known a few, not a lot, but a few. They are so cagey, to put, for lack of a better term, with the people they let in to their circle, the people that they trust with information, the people that they trust to handle them, right? Because they've been screwed their whole lives, right? They have been trying, like, people have been trying to exploit basketball players forever, whether it was the boosters at the school that they were being recruited by, or whether it's some ad executives, or whether it's an agent. Like, they just people have this idea that players are stupid. Players are not stupid. Players are actually quite a bit smarter than people often give them credit for, even though a lot of them do not have a full college education. They are quite a bit smarter. you know My God, I don't remember the last time I've had such trouble speaking. I'm trying to mute the coughs so that I don't cough all over the podcast, and I do not think I have the patience to go out and clip all of this. In summation, before I go to sleep and before y'all go to sleep, I just want to say that the Raptors are insanely lucky to have this guy. That it takes a lot to get the buy-in that he's got, and no matter who you draft next year, the two kids, this potentially top 5, top 6, top 7, top 8, top 10, top 12, whatever. This player, this high lottery pick, plus this Portland pick, they're going to come into a stable organization with good leadership, good culture. They're going to be developed. They're going to be handled. They're going to be trusted, and they are going to trust. They're going to buy in. That is far more important than winning the lottery, because whoever you bring into this is a part of this, and they have to understand that. They have to buy into it. They have to buy into the team philosophy. How many successful organizations have we watched in the NBA replicate success over a long period of time? And how many of them start with culture? The Heat, culture. The Spurs, culture. It's accountability. It's accountability. Sure, there are certain teams, certainly, like the Los Angeles Lakers, that just fall ass backwards into free agent after free agent after free agent after free agent. They can do everything wrong, and somehow they'll always be a contender every 10 years. But for other teams, like the Torontos, the Memphises, the OKCs, the Miamis, the Orlandos, you got to do something different. You cannot prey on a lottery pick. You cannot prey on a free agent signing. You have to intelligently manage your assets. This reminds me a little bit of Moneyball to some extent with the Oakland A's and Billy Bean. You have to find your competitive edge. The Raptors have theirs. It's this guy. It's Darko Rajakovic. That's their competitive edge. Their competitive edge is they can turn any piece of shit into a gold bar. I don't mean to be rude when I say that. But basically, if you're willing to work and you have some basketball skill, they are able to turn you into a productive role player. Ochai Abaji's career was literally on its last legs in the NBA. One more season like last season, he's in Europe. For him to turn it around this way, and I just go back to that post that Esfandiar Bahani posted of Ochai Abaji working with Darko Rajakovic on his jumper on X, where people mercilessly trolled Ochai Abaji for not knowing how to shoot. Yes, you, couch cushion asshole who eats Doritos for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, were sitting there saying, how dare a professional athlete not know how to coach? Not realizing that he wasn't not knowing how to coach. He won a fucking national championship, not knowing how to shoot. Okay. This is a guy who was a lottery pick. You think you know more about shooting than him? No. What I saw in that clip was different than what you saw. What you saw was a guy who was embarrassing himself. What you saw, or what William Lou saw in the Raptors open practice, where he criticized Jonathan Mobile for airballing threes, what you saw was an opportunity. You know, this is the problem with the Toronto media. Yo, this is I want to make this my last point. I want to get out of here. There's this belief that what you do and what they do is close. You think you can go to a gym and make corner threes. So when you see Precious Achua and Pascal Siakam making corner threes, you're like, that's me, that's them, that's close. It's not close. It's not close. The gap between actual NBA players and the common person is so far, it's ridiculous. I remember at the height of all the shit that I talked about Fred VanVleet, someone asked me if I would play Fred VanVleet one-on-one, what would the score be? And I said 101-0. And I'm not bad at basketball. That's the gap between an NBA player and a high school player who didn't make D1. That's the gap. And the gap between an armchair coach who maybe coached his daughter's rec league and a professional basketball coach who is possibly the best development coach in the world, this gap is bigger. It's even bigger, right? It's so much bigger. What the hell is going on? I don't know if you're really awful coaching, but if you are, I'll give you a link. Call in. I dare you. I fucking double dare you, actually. Please tell me. Hang on. Let me give you a link. I'll give you a link to call in. Here. Here's your link. Call in. If that's really you, call in. If it's not you, shut the fuck up and stop making troll accounts and stop making fake accounts. You got nothing better to do at 3 a.m.? Call in. Okay. Awesome. Dope. Let's do it. Let's do it. while we wait. Cool. Let me know if you need the link again. There's your link. While we wait, I'll reiterate that not everything comes down to X's and O's and, you know, oh, why didn't they hedge this pick? Why didn't they ice this? Why didn't they communicate this switch? Yo, you are not trying to win basketball games if you are playing man to man in the NBA and everything's man to man. You're not doing that. You're not trying to win basketball games if you're telling Scotty Barnes to go out there and shoot 10 threes a game. That's not the goal here, right? Are you calling? Are you not? Okay, I'm inclined to go check if this is really awful coaching. There's a really, really simple way to go check this out. Hold on, I'm gonna double check. If it is, we will wait. If it's not, we will not be trolled. Although I appreciate the troll and some real thought went into the trolling, so I do appreciate that. It's actually him. Here we go.
What's up?
How you doing? Hang on. How you doing, man?
Cool.
Okay. So tell me why the Raptors will not win with Darko Rajakovic.
Well, I mean, in the I don't do a lot of Raptors film.
I'm aware.
If you just go to the Raptors Heat game that I broke down that you responded to, I mean, the defense is, I mean, it's unbelievable, and their drop coverage is just. It is just I mean, it is lobs. It is. If you just look at the film, and I'd have to pull up the film, but I mean, they're helping. They're pick and rolls where they're helping from the they're helping from the like weak side of the floor. I mean, I'm gonna pull that up. But yeah, I mean, obviously this team's in a long rebuild. I don't know. Let me Darko. Right. Let me just pull up this video. I want to. Is there a way we can show this?
Yeah, you can present it.
I don't.
Just click present.
Hold on. All right, here we go. Oh wait. And then Jakob Pertl's getting screened. So this was 9 months ago. Sorry. I've done the. Fuck! I can't find it. Give me a second. But I mean, their defense is just, and again, like defense in the NBA, like everywhere, is down. Let me hold on. Content.
Okay, so in fairness, you cover 30 teams, right? I've seen a lot of your videos. Some of them are funny.
So I mean, we'll just start. I mean, we'll just look at. I mean, obviously their drop coverage where I really have problems, but they're poorly coached everywhere. Like on the first sequence right here. I mean, again, you got Jonathan Mogbo guarding with his back. They just don't have the right principles defensively. You got Jonathan Mogbo leaning towards a handoff with his back to the sideline, getting beat back door. That you don't guard with your back to the sideline away from the ball. Let's see. Is this their I mean, then their drop coverage. I mean, with Jakob Pertl, it is just, here comes Tyler Harrow coming off a ball screen. Like, you know, I don't know if you've seen any of my videos, but drop coverage, I just think is
let me help you out for a second. I'm very familiar.
And I'm looking at this right now. There's no backside help. They have Jakob Pertl dropping. It's just 2-on-1 after 2-on-1. It is an atrocity of a pick and roll defense. And it's just lob, lob, lob. Here's another one. Next clip. More drop coverage, more Bam Adebayo just rolling with no backside help whatsoever.
Okay.
What happened here?
I get you. Are you hearing me? Are you able
I'm
to hear
sorry.
me?
This time Tyler Herro just walks to the rim because Jakob Poeltl ends up taking Adebayo on the roll. So again, they just leave Jakob Poeltl naked in these 2-on-1s, and it's just a disaster. So
are you able to hear me?
I think there's a
Are you
lot of bad
hearing me
coaching.
right now? Is
Can I hear
anyone
you?
hearing me?
Sorry, I think you're on mute. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, there we go. So I was trying to speak to you while you were talking,
Sorry.
but I don't think you heard me. Okay,
Go ahead.
so I think that defense comes down at least in part to talent, and in part to philosophy, and in part to what you are trying to do as a basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm understanding that you cover 30 teams. You said you don't know how familiar I am with your coaching, with your videos. I've been watching you since you were at 3,000 subscribers. I've watched a lot of your videos. Some of them are laugh out loud funny, absolutely hilarious. I took an issue with your Darko Rajakovic thing because I think a lot of people took it as very, very serious critique of coaching, which I think is fine if in fact you believe that the Raptors are trying to win basketball games right now as opposed to develop basketball players. Now, fundamentally, the Raptors started out this season with a concept called MIG. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, it was totally new to me as well. So I think they basically coined it. It's called the most important guy. And basically their concept was that nobody gets to hide on defense. They're not hiding anyone on defense. They'll put Grady on Cameron Johnson 6 times in a row and just allow him to get cooked as Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
Okay. So while I understand certain principles, it also comes down to talent as well. I don't think the Raptors necessarily have a lot of talented defenders. Grady Dick is a bad
That's for sure.
It's a bad defender. Jakob Poeltl in reputation is a good defender, but the analytics say he's been on a decline for 4 years. He's not good. I've watched him get cooked by literally every big in the league. Any guard who switches on him, you're absolutely stuck with this drop coverage, this drop coverage with a big who does not contest well at the rim, does not change percentages well. So in the end, with Scotty Barnes in play, they're 16th, 15th or 16th ranked defense. Without him, they fall to 24th, 25th, right? Their expected win-loss is 10 or 11 after tonight. Their actual wins are 7. So I think they're strategically losing games on purpose.
Yeah.
In my take. And so if you're going to lose games on purpose, you're naturally going to employ a defensive strategy that is going to make it easier for other teams to score, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think if you take what the Raptors are doing literally, as in if this was a veteran team without 4 or 5 rookies playing at all times that was trying to win basketball games and be a competitive basketball team, if this was Nick Nurse's team, I think I'd have a lot of the same issues, which is ironic because in your video breakdown, I ended up having a lot of issues with the same plays that you were having issues with. But our perspective on it was completely different because I genuinely think that the Raptors are not trying to win basketball games, but rather they're trying to develop Grady's point of attack defense. Now, what coach in the league, if Grady was playing for JJ Redick in LA, he would be hidden.
Yeah.
Hidden. That would be Cam Reddish's man. They would never put Grady.
Well, there's not a lot of communication. I mean, there are ways that you can load up when you have bad individual defenders stuck on an island. There's the Raptors very little communication, and I'm looking at some of their transition defense right now. I mean, they got guys they don't know what they're doing in transition. They give up easy looks because guys aren't getting the bodies.
I agree with you 100%. There was a play where it's Mobo, by the way. I don't know if you deliberately are mispronouncing names to be funny, but it is.
I know. I don't honestly obviously spend a ton of time on the Raptors.
Okay, so it's Jonathan Mobo.
Okay.
Not Mogbo, so it's Mobo. So Jonathan Mobo is so obviously in transition, cross matches are a thing, and you're just going to find the guy, right? You're trying to find the closest body in transition and trying to stop the basketball as best as you can. And there was a play, again, I think it was against the Chicago Bulls, where Julian Phillips goes behind. He makes a shot, if I'm remembering this correctly. Grady contests. And then he goes right down, cuts behind the defense by like 15 feet. And the guy who's supposed to be covering to him is calling for help. And there's literally no help behind him. It's his
Yeah.
man. And he has the angle to cut off the drive. And instead, Julian Phillips gets a wide open layup. Plays like that drive you crazy when you're a competitive team that is actually, and I'm not ever going to sit here and tell you the Raptors have a good defense. So you're perfectly in your right to say they have a bad defense. But can we acknowledge how much better the players are getting under this guy? Did you watch Ochai Agbaji in Utah?
Coverage.
He was awful.
God, they go over handoffs all the time, which you can't do. I mean, Jakob Poeltl gets hung out to dry quite often in pick and rolls, and it's just ugly. Yeah, obviously the Raptors are not talented. They're not. I mean, the plan is for them to not be talented. I don't know. It's a I don't know. I teams that run drop coverage, I have a real fundamental issue.
I've noticed that. But if you have Jonas Valanciunas, you can't do anything else. If you have Jakob Poeltl right now, he's not fleet-footed. This is not the Jakob Poeltl who left the Raptors. He's the Jakob Poeltl who left San Antonio. And that Jakob Poeltl is 29 years old and a 7-footer who is not nearly as fleet-footed as a prime Marc Gasol. So you can't overcome your defensive personnel. To some extent, I think that's where we're at right now. If I want to break down the Sacramento Kings defense, which is painful in and of itself, I have to accept that there are limitations. If I'm going to break down the Denver Nuggets on that final play where Anthony Simons, gets to the rim, I could say Jokic probably could have, maybe Russ doesn't gamble. But these are like
Michael Malone is someone who I particularly can't stand. Where was that? I got it right. Yeah, I'm pretty.
It was the final play of Denver versus
Portland.
Right here.
It was a 1-4. Yeah. So this is exactly what I talk about with Grady Dick. So like in this situation, they're just ISOing here, and Jamal Murray comes all the way over from the wing. He's guarding Denny Avdia, and this is what the Raptors don't do: is they don't communicate. Grady Dick, Jakob Poeltl, those guys are going to get cooked on the perimeter, and they do. But when you load, there's ways to load up and help. And right here, like on this game winner, Jamal Murray's loading up, waiting to help, but no one's saying anything. So like Russell Westbrook right here is opening his hip up away from where the help's coming. And that's what happens a lot of times with the Raptors is they'll load up and help, but no one says anything. So Grady Dick's getting beat away from where the help is. And as far as Jakob Poeltl and pick and rolls, you got to do something other than drop coverage. It's so bad.
What would you suggest?
I mean, it obviously depends where the backside. Well, first of all, on handoffs, I'm never going over. I'm jamming the screener with my body, so I'm having Jakob Poeltl come up and jam the screener, and then you go under and meet the ball handle on the other side. The second you go over a handoff, you've just created a 2-on-1. It just can't happen. Jakob Poeltl, gets fried in these situations. And with Grady Dick, like there are ways to help Grady Dick out, but there's not enough communication. Like guys will load up in the gaps, but no one says anything. So Grady Dick's getting beaten away from where any of that help is.
But when Jakob Poeltl's not on the floor and Mobo's playing the 5 or Scotty's playing the 5, it's not the same coverage. I think you have to adapt to your personnel. I understand you have a particular philosophy of how you want basketball to be coached, and I get that. It is very similar across the board that you have issues with particular teams doing the same things, and you want them to jam the screener.
Drop coverage is the thing that of all the things sends me to Middle Earth. It is not defense. You put bigs in a terrible spot. You allow guards to get in the lane. So when you send back, so like in situations where you send backside help to Jakob Poeltl's to the roll man, when you send backside help, you're just because the guard's in the lane. It's just so easy to get those skip passes going.
What would you do if you were the Milwaukee Bucks right now and you have a Brook Lopez on your roster? Would you not play drop?
I would not play drop. Again, it depends where your backside help is. Like you need backside help in any pick and roll defense. And so like if I have like it depends. So if I have multiple defenders on the weak side of the floor, then I'm up and hedging. And hedging a screen, like you don't like hedging a screen is Brook Lopez or Pirtle or name any slow-footed big, Jokic. Like you're hedging, you're taking maybe 1 to 2 steps to push the ball handler out. Once that ball handler has to be pushed out, now I'm recovering. But in the meantime, I have backside help so that pass doesn't get made. Once the pass to the roll gets made, everybody goes from 2 passes away to 1 pass away. So I have to prevent that. Now, if I can't hedge, then that's why I always talk about, especially, and this happens to the Raptors all the time, empty side ball screens. They'll run pick and roll with Jakob Poeltl. On empty side ball screens, there's nobody in the corner. So the roll is going to be wide open. I can't do that. I need to ice that screen and keep the ball handler to the sidelines. So now when the big's rolling, he's rolling to the middle of the floor where I have 1, 2, 3 defenders. That's why the Raptors give up so many lobs on these, because there's never, ever backside help on these pick and rolls. And it's not just Rajakovic. It's a lot. It's a lot of NBA teams. So
I mean, I don't necessarily think that the Raptors have a good defense, but I think relative to the personnel that they employ, given how many inexperienced rookies that they're playing, given how many defensive liabilities they're playing, I don't necessarily even think Davion Mitchell is that great a defender. I know for a fact that Jamal Shead is not a great defender right now. I know RJ Barrett is among the worst wing guards in the league. So I understand that there is a way to play a lot more conservatively and a lot more fundamentally defensively. But if your goal in the end is to develop RJ Barrett's lateral quickness and defensive instincts as a point of attack defender, you're going to give up a lot. If you're not going to hide him, if you're not going to help him enough in those situations, if you're not going to do for him what the Mavericks are willing to do for Luka Doncic, then you're going to give up blow-bys. And I don't necessarily think, like, one of my biggest issues with your videos is, number one, maybe it's a philosophical difference, but I always think good offense beats good defense every time. That offensive players are too skilled. So when I am looking at a play of Anthony Simons and I'm slowing it down to quarter speed, and I'm looking at Anthony Simons cooking Russell Westbrook as Russell Westbrook takes that little, dig at the basketball, fails, gamble, drives me crazy. Jokic does not rotate over to offer the help. I'm inclined to believe that
I know what you're talking about, but the help is on the wing. You can't send help at the rim because you're
should Russell Westbrook have sent him the other way? Should Russell Westbrook have sent?
Yes, right to where Jamal Murray is almost standing next to him. And that's what happens to the Raptors a lot, is that nobody's communicating to Grady Dick or Poeltl on the perimeter where the help is. So they end up open. You gotta open up your hip. The only place he's going is to where that help is on the wing. If you send help at the rim, first of all, it's at the rim, and second of all, you can't rotate, so you give up drop-off passes for dunks. Nobody's in position to box out. So that's where your help has to come from. Because again, it's stunt, it's recover back out. When you send help at the rim, like it's not and that's well, in the situation of the Blazers, you send help at the rim, it's too late. Simons is going up for a shot, but the help's got to come from the wing.
That would be Aaron Gordon.
And I'm looking at this right here against the Heat. Again,
so here's my question. Philosophically, here's my question for you. On that play where Anthony Simons hit that game winner against the Denver Nuggets, there's
can we pull it up?
You can if you hit present on your on the screen here. If you hit present, yes, we can look at it.
Share screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, so let's go to that Anthony Simons game winner. So this is a perfect example, and I have one from the Raptors game. So this is what I'm talking about right here. So you can see Jamal Murray loading up in the gaps right here. So, but look at Russell Westbrook's hips right here. Like, you got to be angling your body. This is the only place that Anthony, this is where your help has to come from. Because look what so Nikola Jokic goes, now, the Blazers, Chauncey Billups is a disgrace. But like if DeAndre Ayton here is opposed, Like when you send help at the rim here, DeAndre Ayton setting a flare screen for no reason. If DeAndre Ayton cuts right here, like DeAndre Ayton should be cutting. So even though this layup goes in, like most 9 times out of 10, that I can either drop this off to a DeAndre Ayton right here, or he's going to be wide open for the offensive rebound. If you back it up when Jamal Murray's in help, like again, if you're playing the gaps correctly, I'm just forcing him into help. We're just stunting and recovering. This is what happens to the Raptors all the time. They'll be help. Guys will be loading up, but the on-ball defender doesn't know clearly where the help's coming from, and he gets beat away from that help, and that happens quite often.
Okay, so my instinct when I saw this play was that he should have forced them middle.
Yes.
And I agree and I agree with you on that. But if you play that clip again, should Aaron Gordon be sinking more into the gap?
Not Aaron Gordon. Look, here are our Raptors right here. So Jakob Poeltl, they're just isoing Jakob Poeltl with Bam Adebayo right here. Oh wait, this is not the clip. Sorry. Let's get it down. This is it. So Jamal Shed right here is, again, he's loading up in help. So, again, you got to keep Bam Adebayo towards the middle of the floor. Again, look at Jakob Poeltl's hips. He's opening up baseline. So now you're not helping to the rim, which, by the way, is Grady Dick. So it's just not doing anything. You don't know where your help is coming from. So here's another ISO.
Okay, so if we play that out and he opens up the other way, he's going to go into what you perceive to be help, which is Jamal Shed, right?
Right, who's standing at the free throw line waiting to help right here. So here's the next clip. Now they're going to double Adebayo, and they're going to screw up a rotation. I mean, I don't even know what's happening on this clip. I can just guess. So they rotate here. Yeah, RJ Barrett's in the paint. See, this is just kind of the little things that the Raptors screw up.
But RJ Barrett is not a good defender.
Look at this. So what? See, this is stuff you work on, and this is what I have such a problem with. Doubling in the post happens all the time. So here, Grady Dick rotates. I don't even know who this is.
AC, the only question I would ask you is it possible to stop?
How do you? Hold on, just one last thing. How do you not have these rotations down? You're doubling the post. Obviously, guys are going to have to rotate and move. Why is RJ Barrett in the paint?
I agree with this. I called this play out myself, so I completely agree with you. Right? This is atrocious. This is atrocious defense. I completely agree with you. The end point, though, is if you're going to play RJ Barrett and Grady Dick and 2 rookies with Jakob Poeltl, you do not have the defensive personnel to do what you think they can do in this situation. I'll guarantee it. There are no good defenders on the court. There are 2 good defenders on the court right now, and they're both rookies. And neither one of them is Herb Jones or OG Anunoby. There's a reason OG Anunoby is getting paid $42 million. It's not because everyone can do what OG can do. At some point, you do have to have the personnel to switch. I could ask RJ Barrett to switch on to a big. It doesn't mean he can be effective in that situation. I can ask Grady to switch out to a guard or Jakob Poeltl to not give up a switch. But at some point, it's just going to come down to personnel. Right? Right here. Yes, I see what you're seeing.
Yeah, and you know what's coming here. Again, this is this drop coverage. And I would ask Darko Rajakovic, what other result is happening here? Again, why am I not pushing? If I'm pushing Tyler Herro out here, okay, there's literally no place for Bam Adebayo to roll to. None. Grady Dick can jam him. There's no place to go. Poeltl's just coming out to push. Herro out. He'll be able to recover. Look at this defense. What else is happening on this play?
So what's the first break? Go right back. If RJ Barrett is able to contain the basketball here and not and really just sort of slip this screen.
You're saying getting over the top of this screen?
Yes. So
getting over the top of a Bam Adebayo screen. He's not, that's just not happening. He's getting screened. So, okay, if you wanted to run your stupid drop coverage, and this is just details. This is not Grady Dick being a bad basketball player defensively. This is, okay, so you want to run your stupid drop coverage, fine. Grady Dick, this is not an option. How does he miss this? This is IQ. This is game planning. This is, Grady Dick has to jam Bam Adebayo as he comes through here. Has to jam him.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
How is he missing that? That's
but in order to do that, he has to surrender an open 3 to.
That's not true. He's got to take one step. One step. You can't. If you don't do that, this is happening every time. And I don't
He's
get it.
physically going to run through him. He is a weak
I understand, but
second-year
he
player.
can't just not touch him, or that's going to happen all the time. Here
I
comes
agree
another
with you.
one.
I agree with you.
Let's take a look at this clip. This is a more drop coverage. And again, this is not Jakob Poeltl's fault. You're just hanging him out to dry right here. Like, what is he supposed to do? So, again, I would hedge because you push Tyler Herro to the sidelines. No place for Adebayo to roll to. None. 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 But instead, you're in this drop coverage right here. And who's this right here?
Jacoby Walter.
Yeah. So, I don't even think, I mean, again, like he needs to come over here and jam Adebayo right here.
He has the instinct to do it. He has the instinct to do it, and he does.
Sort of jam him. But here's the
Well,
problem.
but that's the thing. Like, hold on. Court mapping in real time is a defensive skill. Not everybody court maps at the same rate. They're like, look, let me put it this way. Offensively and defensively, how quickly you process information is not as simple as what you and I are doing right now. It's easy to have the bird's eye view and the vantage point of a replay and to slow it all down. But in real time, there aren't a lot of defenders in the NBA today who can keep up with the pace that things are happening in the league. Okay. There's so much space. This increased space on offense, like how the Celtics spread you out. I'm sorry. They're going to get open threes. There's no defense that's going to stop the Celtics from generating open threes. That's what they do.
Right.
You're going to pray that they miss.
I mean, this is Darko Rajakovic operating a layup line. Look at this. Because again, what is Poeltl supposed to do?
Okay,
here?
but here he does tag the roller here, doesn't he?
I understand, and it's not good enough because Tyler Herro's being allowed into the lane. He doesn't jam him nearly enough. He barely moves.
So here's my question for you: if Jakob Poeltl is Jaren Jackson, this is a block. If Jakob Poeltl is Evan Mobley, this is a block. That's what it comes down to: defensive personnel.
But here's the other problem with drop coverage. If this is a block, okay. Nobody is here to box out Bam Adebayo. So that block, or if this is a missed layup, there's no win here. Like if Jakob Poeltl leaves
the player pursuing from behind, which is Davion Mitchell for whatever reason, would then have the blockout assignment, wouldn't he? If he's sending this player into a block from Jakob Poeltl, then the box out assignment goes to switch.
Then you're just saying they're basically just switching there.
Sure.
What Davion Mitchell's responsibility is to get over the top of the screen and get back underneath Tyler Herro. So again, like this pick and roll coverage
that's physically
puts
impossible.
them in no-win situations.
Sure, but that's the roster you have. That's the roster the Wizards have. I mean, there's no amount of defensive coaching that is going to make a Jonas Valanciunas, Jordan Poole pick and roll on defense effective. They are simply not designed for it. That's what I'm trying to say. And in real time, neither one of those players is a defensively oriented court mapper. You know, again, these things are happening in real time. The instincts that Jacoby Walter shows here to read and react, to understand that he has enough space between himself, number 12, to be able to sort of tag the roller here and then recover back to number 12 if Jakob Poeltl gets back in the play. Like all of this is happening snap, snap, snap. And Jacoby is a good defender. That's the difference. Jonathan Mobo is a good defender. Most of these guys are not good defenders. And they're not good defenders, not just because they have physical limitations or because they're too weak. I mean, Jacoby is 20 pounds too light. He's a rookie. Jonathan Mobo is giving up 4 to 5 inches in every single matchup, although he makes up for it with wingspan. But there's only so much scheme that is going to help.
Some of this stuff is absurd. So here are the Raptors. I mean, come on. The Raptors are in drop coverage here. All right, whatever. Jakob Poeltl. I mean, this is the stuff where it's just like, okay, Jakob Poeltl, who's standing on the wing right here, he cannot leave to go in backside help on Jimmy Butler. If there's backside help, it comes from the strong side corner. Like, this is just stuff where it's like, Darko, really? Like, this is where your help has to come from, as the arrows show. Look at Jakob Poeltl. You got to stay on the wing. What is he doing?
But does the criticism not?
Okay, come on.
I hear you.
But the
implication here, I understand that, you know, as a content creator, I understand that entertainment is entertainment. But in order to dissect or criticize a coach, I think you'd have to actually understand if the coach agrees with what you're saying or not. And if the coach does agree, what do you expect him to do on the court in real time when a player botches a coverage or does not do what he's being asked to do?
I mean, that's just very simple details, is that you literally Never, never help from the weak side. This is where the roll is coming from. This is where you help from. I mean, that's just kind of stuff where it's just like middle school stuff, you know? And then this is the other problem with drop coverage is right here is that because RJ Barrett, so in drop coverage, RJ Barrett has to try and get
Yeah,
skinny and get over the top
I
of this.
broke this play down too. This is just and this comes down to the court mapping that I talked about. This is RJ Barrett losing his mind for half a
No, he's
second,
trying to
and
get
Jimmy
over the top
Butler.
of this screen early so he gets beat the other way. It happens all the time in the NBA. But that's the problem with your drop coverage is
Okay,
because it
but
is
you
so
can't lose the ball handler.
right.
Like,
Well, this happens all the time.
this
You
is
lean
not
towards the
okay.
screen and
Let's
it
be
gets
real. This is
refused the
not
other
Ja
way.
Morant. Okay, this did not happen at lightning speed. This is a 36-year-old Jimmy Butler. This is RJ Barrett lacking the peripheral vision and court mapping to understand what is about to happen here. And I understand that he overplays this, and so Jimmy decides to go the other way, realizing there's no help in the paint. But Kelly Olynyk is also not a good shot blocker. It's like what I'm trying to tell you. It's like these lineups don't make sense, man. You're playing rookies out there with non-centers. You're playing like 3-guard lineups. It's just designed to lose. It's like this team is designed to lose, and they're doing a fantastic job of it. But they're also, in the context of losing, developing players into better versions of themselves. Like every player is getting better under this guy. The whole context of this video is the Raptors are lucky because they have this incredible development coach. I did not say they have an excellent defensive coordinator. That I did not say, because Pat Delaney is trash. But I mean, at some point, I think you'd have to actually get Darko into a call and say, do you agree that this was absolutely crazy? And I think he would be the first person to tell you, yeah, I do. That's nuts. But this is why we gave that up, to avoid this. And most of the plays that you're breaking down are mistakes.
Oh, here comes Grady Dick getting. See, this is and this is what I'm talking
How
about
do
right
you
here.
stop? But this is what I'm talking about. You can slow this down.
Okay,
But
no.
Jalen
But this
Green,
is just communication because Grady Dick has got backpedaling. Jalen Green has a full head of steam. Who is this again?
John, that's Jacoby Walter.
Okay, so again, the Raptors have numbers. The Raptors have numbers defensively. Jacoby Walter has nobody to guard other than to help. But there's no communication. Jalen Green is going to smash Grady Dick every time. But if Jacoby Walter is telling Grady Dick that I'm in help side in the middle of the floor, now Grady Dick is up, showing his hands, making sure this is the only area for Jalen Green to go to. Instead, he's gambling and backpedaling. You're not like the Raptors have numbers here defensively.
Hang on. Slow that play down for a second. Slow that play down for a second, because I'll tell you exactly how this play develops. If Jacoby commits to fully helping Grady Dick, is Alperen Sengun is getting an open layup 100% of the time. So it's not going to stop the result, because at the end.
Hold on a second. First of all, see, there's all kinds of issues here in transition. First of all, who's this?
Who are you
right
pointing?
Here. Who?
That's Ochai Agbaji.
Yeah. So for some reason, he's just not sprinting back. So that's weird.
So that's your first breakdown. I mean, you have
and
two.
Again, you're not giving up a layup.
Right now.
Look at Sengun is at half court here. Like all you're asking to do, telling Grady Dick to do, he has nobody to guard. This is what I'm talking about. It happens all the time. There has to be communication here to force Jalen Green to the middle of the floor. Like Grady Dick is going to get destroyed, but no one's communicating. Like any of these people can communicate. And why is Agbaji jogging back? I mean, that's just awful.
I mean, look at how many issues there were on that play in itself. I mean, okay, let's say you do force middle, right? Because you want him to push. You want to push him towards the help. Jabari Smith is open for a wide open three.
Huh? Where's that?
He was open. And if Jabari Smith is not open for a three, Alperen Sengun is getting downhill.
No. We're not talking about Scotty Barnes here. I think is in the corner. Is that who that is? Yeah. He's in the corner. We don't want Jalen Green coming this way. You want this way. This is what I'm talking about. Grady Dick, this in the middle of the floor, just right to the middle. That's where the help is. Scotty Barnes should not be helping here or doing anything. I'm up. I'm keeping Jalen Green to the middle. Like, here, we'll pull some more. There, you can literally, on all these clips, just count the mistakes. Let's keep going. Like this. Oh, this looks like some drop coverage. Yep. See, like, this is what I'm talking. Like, this just can't happen. Like, Yeah, so this is another issue with drop coverage. So because you're dropping Kelly Olynyk towards the ball right here, he's not going to be able to recover back to Landale. So again, like now Chris Boucher has to come over and box out. So you gave up an open three, which Jalen Green just happened to miss. But because Kelly Olynyk's dropping
Amen
towards the
Thompson
ball, he's
get
not
the
able to get
rebound
back
here?
to Landale. That's going to screw up box out assignments. So in this situation, all right, like this is a situation where I'm hedging. I'm just pushing Jalen Green out. There's no place for Landale to roll to. I have a defender right here. It just so I give up an open three. Then there's no, then I get left in a 2-on-1 here with Chris Boucher boxing out. It's just it's a broken defensive scheme is what it is.
But here's the thing, man. You're going to keep saying it's a broken defensive scheme, and I'm going to say at some point you need defensive personnel to run a defensive scheme. Okay? Because like every play you're breaking down, there is a breakdown at the point of attack, and it is leading to cascading issues down the line. Okay? And that's really the process of the offense. Any play that you can point to, I'll guarantee you there was a breakdown at some point that was not properly adjusted for. And it's going to come down to that. If you have defensive liabilities on the floor, and especially when you have multiple defensive liabilities on the same side of the court, it's not going. Yeah, of course. And they're hunting for this switch because they know that Grady is a terrible defender.
Right. So they switch this screen. And
so
again,
what would you have Grady
look at the
do
help
here?
on the strong side of the floor. It's everywhere. So why is Grady Dick not being told to keep Jalen Green to the strong side of the floor? Like what? Why is what? It's just that's exactly what I'm talking about. They don't help these bad defenders they have. They don't help them out with any communication, knowing where your help coverage is.
Okay, let me offer you a counterpoint to that. Is it easier for like you go back to that play for a second. Amen Thompson is this is where I think sometimes it just helps to know the personnel. Is Jacoby Walter able to leave his assignment, which is Amen Thompson?
No, he can't because that's not helping. You'd have to X out of that. Like Ochai Agbaji doesn't have to move. He's already in the gaps. He's already in help. So right now I'm screaming at Grady Dick. You have to keep Jalen Green to the strong side of the floor. Help defender, help defender, help defender. Like, there's no help over here. So, of course, he's on an island, and of course, he's going to get toasted again. That's what I'm talking about with these terrible defenders.
But you say keep him to this side of the court as if Grady Dick can do anything with Jalen Green in space.
All he's got to do is just angle his body, show his hands, and you just keep him towards where this help is.
It sounds easy, man, but Jalen Green is...
Look at they're loading up right here, but it doesn't matter because Grady Dick doesn't know that.
Okay. What I'm trying to tell you is that under no circumstance with space can Grady Dick force Jalen Green into anything. And the double that can be said for RJ Barrett. They cannot contain the dribble. They cannot laterally move with these players. If they try to move with these players, they will fall down and break apart. Okay? There's nothing that these guys can do. Absolutely nothing. And that is why they are 5th and 6th percentile defenders. Okay? Now here, if you go to that play, that's a good defender. Jonathan Mobo. Let's see what he does. Okay, there we go. This is Jonathan Mobo.
They already make a mistake. Fred VanVleet's open here because, hold on, stop. Who's this?
That is Jamal Shed.
Yes, going up the gut of a down screen. That's literally like middle school stuff. You must chase over the top. So because of that angle, Fred VanVleet's open. By the way, you just said his name. Whatever.
Jonathan Mobo.
He's literally all he's got to do. Like right here, he's already there. He's
doing what you've asked him to do, isn't he?
Well, he wouldn't be in that situation because really if the Raptors were well coached defensively, this is how this play would go. Scotty Barnes would be attached right here to this man setting a down screen, and Shed would be chasing over the top. So this would be Scotty Barnes' gap assignment right here. But instead, Scotty Barnes I don't know what's happening there. But Jamal Shed is here. Like right here, you need to stunt at this ball. This is where Dylan Brooks' dribble needs to get picked up. But Jamal Shed is out to lunch. So they screw up the down screen. Now Dylan
do you want
Brooks
him to stunt or do you want him to recover onto Fred VanVleet?
He's already there. All he's got to look again. This is again just like where they're just poorly coached. Like right here, this is a down screen. You must chase over the top. Okay, Scotty Barnes should be attached with his arms extended so Fred VanVleet can't curl. They go up the gut right here. Scotty Barnes is unattached. This should be Scotty Barnes here should be attached to his man. And Scotty Barnes should be the one that's in help. I mean, he's just standing, should be standing. There'd be no place for Dillon Brooks to go. But nobody gets in the gaps. Now that extra dribble allows Dillon Brooks to power into the paint. And again, so it's just that their defensive principles.
You know what? Here's the thing. I'm not mad at that shot. To be completely clear, I actually like that shot for the Raptors. If Dillon Brooks is taking a fadeaway from 9 feet, I will take that and I will live with those percentages 100% of the time. It was a little bit easier than I would have liked, but you got the end result, which is a bad shot. Sometimes you're going to make bad shots. I mean, like if somebody walks up to the half court line and takes a three and you don't guard it and it goes in, that's not a bad defense. That's
here's
great.
Again where their defense is just their principles. Grady Dick is guarding with his. You're not supposed to guard above the 3-point line away from the ball. His back should be to the baseline, so Dillon Brooks is in front of him. His back is to the sideline. He's leaning towards this handoff early. You're getting beat backdoor here. Why do I care about Dillon Brooks 4 steps from the 3-point line? So instead,
you shouldn't.
So now you're getting beat backdoor.
100% a mistake. This is a terrible mistake. But it's also many. But do you see how the Rockets put the 2 worst defenders on the court, or at least 2 of the 3 worst defenders on the court, into 2-man action? There's a reason why these defensive liabilities are getting picked on. It's because they are awful at defense. Yeah, it's not the coach's fault that Kelly Olynyk cannot guard. I mean, frankly, Kelly Olynyk has participated in quite a few proper defensive schemes, but never as a rim protector. We understand that, right? Personnel wise, I mean, you're not gonna I'm 5'11". If you're coaching me in a rec league, you're not putting me in the paint and asking me to stop anybody, because I'll block 6 shots in my high school career. I can't do that.
So this is again the problem of the Raptors just not communicating in transition. So Ochai Abaji's back guarding the ball. So he should be saying this. Kelly Olynyk cannot get back to the middle of nowhere here. Like, he's got to be up here, up the line, ready to take Alperen Sengun. Like, why is he standing at the free throw line? So now you're literally not guarding the ball until Alperen Sengun's in the paint. It's, again, just no communication in transition.
I agree with that. It's the same rule with Giannis.
I just don't understand how these things happen all the time. And, like, they could, like, yes, they're a bad team. They are not a talented team. But, like, some of this stuff is see, there we go again with the same thing. Chris Boucher.
Here's the thing. They're not a bad team. They generate some of the best looks offensively in the league. In terms of shot quality, they are top 5 in the league, going right back to last season. They generate open looks. They're a terrible defensive personnel team.
Right. So here's another, and this will be the last one because it's the same exact thing. Chris Boucher is stuck on an island with Jalen Green. Jamal Shed is loading up and help. You got to keep the ball handle to the middle of the floor where there's help, where there's help, where there's help. You're getting beat baseline. Now you're helping at the rim. It's too late. Like, so that's just what I'm talking about with
your help is a non-shot blocker, and you're trying to guard a dynamic NBA guard who was the #1 player in high school basketball for his scoring acumen and doing exactly things like that. I'm sorry, like I guess what I'm trying to communicate to you, and maybe it's not you want to take this off.
Yeah, how do I get
I guess what I'm trying to communicate here is that you can do a bang up job defensively with the wrong personnel and still get scored on routinely. At some point, it's going to matter that Grady Dick just can't move laterally. And it doesn't matter how many times you break down a play of him. And it's a reason why I don't harp on his defense or RJ's defense. I'll harp on RJ not getting back in transition because that's something I believe he can do. But when RJ is the low man, I don't harp on RJ for not being able to block a shot because I know that's not who he is. That's not his defensive profile. He's one of the worst defenders in the NBA for a reason. It's the same thing with, like what the Raptors are trying to do. And again, all I'd ask is, and I understand you're a very huge channel. I'm not trying to give you content direction. Clearly, you know what you're doing. So all I'm saying is, from my perspective, an issue I took with your video is that removing the context from what a team is trying to do and then exclaiming that they're not doing what you want them to do doesn't make sense to me. While you are correct that they are making mistakes, I think you are factoring out that it is not on the coach. It is on the general manager and the president who have assembled this team of defensive misfits and is asking this coach to play these young players all these minutes. If the goal was to try to win basketball games, I think your critique has a lot of merit. If this was the playoff series or whatever, but if the goal is to develop RJ Barrett's lateral quickness and defensive instincts, I don't think him getting, I'm not going to be too critical about that.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto's got, I mean, just in terms of talent, just purely talking about players, like, I don't know. I mean, the East is such garbage. Like, they maybe don't have that far to go to, but they feel a long, long, long ways away.
I'll make you a deal.
Like, if the
Next
hold
year,
on,
this time, they will be a playoff team.
where?
Next year, this time, they will be a playoff team. 100%. I'll
Boy,
bet.
I mean,
I'll bet anything on it.
play
So,
in, like you're saying, like 9 or 10 seed,
no, better than that.
like in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the East is complete trash.
I don't think it has to do with the East being trash. I think it's the fact that the Raptors have been missing Emmanuel quickly for the entire season, that they have missed Bruce Brown for most of the season. They're
Right, but
playing
I mean, is
5
Bruce not
rookies,
even gonna be
4
on the team
rookies.
next year?
If Bruce Brown gets traded, that's fine, but that salary of $23
They're
million
gonna
is
have
dead
a
weight right
high
now.
lot. I mean, they could get Cooper Flagg or
I
Dylan
mean,
Harper.
Cooper would certainly help. What are your thoughts on the draft?
I mean, I have not looked at the draft much. I just know that it's at the top. There's a lot. So, I mean, the Raptors are going to have what, top 5 odds, probably top 7 odds.
I mean,
So,
we'll see. I mean, they're doing a very, very successful job, but they do have a pretty crazy schedule in April where they have to play the Washington Wizards 4 times. So I don't think that's going to be very successful for them. The Wizards are one of the worst teams in basketball that I've ever seen, and
yeah,
they find new ways to lose. But the Raptors, again, per the analytics, the Raptors are playing like an 11-win team. They've won more quarters, believe it or not. Despite their record, they've won more quarters than they've lost this year. They were in the game tonight against the Houston Rockets. I mean, think about what I'm saying here. Can you acknowledge that the Houston Rockets are a pretty decent basketball team?
yeah, of course. Yeah, they're
Okay,
good.
great. So the Raptors played without Emmanuel Quickly, without RJ Barrett, without Bruce Brown,
I mean, you can't. I mean,
and
one
without
winning
Jakob
center.
Poeltl. Like
Yeah.
we're talking 4 key rotation players, and they were up in the fourth quarter, and were actually favored to win per ESPN. So I mean, they choked it away late. They turned the ball over a lot. They subbed Scotty Barnes out probably when they shouldn't have. They played some funky rotations, some weird lineups. But overall, they were in a 4-point game when they've beat Vegas almost every game this year. They've beat the spread almost every game this year. I think they're a lot closer than you think. And I
Next
realize that
year, I don't know.
I think the external opinion of the Raptors is very different than my internal opinion watching them every night. But I'm on the panel every day, so I every other day, so I'm watching the entire league right now. I'm seeing how far I think teams like Utah and teams like Washington and
Well,
teams like Charlotte are, and it's just like I'm looking at the talent. Obviously, I'm a lot higher on Scotty Barnes than you probably are, and probably the entire world is.
what do you think of Detroit? By the way, I live in Detroit.
Do you? Okay, I've spent a lot of time slandering Cade Cunningham. A
Yeah,
lot.
they're playing better this year.
They are. They
I
are. They're
mean,
playing a hell of a lot
not
better.
saying anything, but
I mean, I've been. How do you like Asar Thompson?
I mean, I can't really shoot. The Pistons have a lot of guys that can't shoot, so that's a real problem.
It's been a problem for years.
Very odd team, but they're like a team that I would say is like kind of like on a similar playing field as Toronto. Maybe Detroit's a little further advanced because they've got probably some more higher upside young players, even though the roster really doesn't fit. And the Pistons
I
have
don't think
the
you.
single worst owner in the NBA by a
I don't think you have
mile.
higher upside young players, man. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I mean, I rank Asar, but the jump shot is missing.
Terrible. Yeah.
Ron Holland, I would
Yeah. I mean, we have
say
no idea what he's going to be.
exactly. Jalen Duren is not a good defender, or has not been a good defender, to my understanding so far. From the games I've watched of him, he is compromised a little bit defensively. I think they're doing what they're supposed to do in a completely depleted East.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I don't even.
honestly, if the Raptors were healthy right now, they would be significantly ahead. Like, again, the Detroit Pistons and the Raptors had a similar, position to be in this offseason, which a lot of change had happened. They had young rosters. Detroit has obviously been bad for a few more years. They've had a couple of top 5 picks. Naturally, they fell from 1 to 5 multiple years, despite having the worst record. So that was bad. However, I do think that had the Raptors opted to go in for Tobias Harris instead of, parking their free agent money in nothing. I mean, the Raptors did not use their mid-level exception. They were not trying to be good this year. I mean, Detroit, under Tom Gores is an embarrassment.
Ugh.
I think it's sad because, I watched
Oh.
the 04 Pistons, probably one of my all-time favorite teams all time. I love Rasheed Wallace. I love
Yeah.
that team. I loved how they played. Chauncey Billups, one of my all-time favorites, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, that entire core. But seeing this team, I don't think Cade has the same upside as Scotty. I'll admit, I'm
Well, yeah, I
definitely.
mean, Scotty just plays a more valuable position on the wing.
He's playing
Um,
guard this. He's played point guard this year.
yeah, I know,
Not
but he can guard. Cade Cunningham that's the exact prototype everybody wants. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I just watched the Raptors and it's I mean, we'll see. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team next year,
okay.
but who
Well,
knows?
you know what? I'm gonna at you in a video this time next year. I'm gonna put it on my calendar, December 23rd, 2025. Let AC know I was right. He was wrong. But thank
Yeah.
you for coming on. Appreciate you. And
Yeah, thank you. It's great.
keep up the great content. I'm glad you kept your shirt on in this one, but
Yeah, live
yo,
stream.
man, like it's pretty cool what you've done. I'm not gonna lie. Like I obviously I don't appreciate you calling my head coach a terrorist or whatever the hell you called him, but I appreciate that it's all in good fun. And thanks for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do it again. I watch all your live streams, so
You're kidding.
I watch a decent amount.
I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah, you come up in the algorithm. You're high up
I
in the
honestly,
algorithm.
that's wild to me because I've recently found out that one of my favorite Knicks of all time likes my podcast, and I was like, what is this guy watching a Raptors podcast for? He's my childhood hero, and he reached out to me and he's like, I watch your videos, and I was like,
Who's that?
I can't say. I
Oh,
can't say. It would be if we ever talk off air, I'll let you know. But yeah, it was the weirdest shit. And yeah, it's always weird, man. Like all these players there, I'm sure they're aware of you as well. I'm positive every NBA player has seen your videos. It's wild. This platform that YouTube has given us is pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing, I might be Free Dawkins?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got about to actually get on a call with him about something. So I might be doing something with his channel. He's got obviously way bigger channel than I do.
Yeah, you keep up what you're doing, I'm sure, in no time. And by the way, I also don't think Bronny James is an NBA player. So let's
Yeah.
keep that
All
stacked.
right, well, we'll
All right.
circle back. I'll be around.
All right, peace, man.
All right,
Take
bye.
care. Bye. Alrighty. Well, that was very cool. Always very cool to have other content creators come on to call in. At one point Blake Murphy called in. That was very cool. So thanks a lot to AC. Y'all go check out AC's channel, Awful Coaching. It is very entertaining when he's not calling my head coach, all sorts of names in the book. But this is Awful Coaching's channel. Definitely go check it out. He does video breakdowns of a lot of uh, other other teams, and I think that it's a fantastic way. Sometimes it can be a very fantastic way to learn about the basketball, learn about the X's and O's. And I would say of all the videos I've watched, I agree about 85% of what he says. I can't say it's gospel, but 85% of what he says makes a lot of sense to me. I just think sometimes my the bare I want to say the brunt of my criticism towards his video about Darko Rajakovic and the Toronto Raptors was that I don't believe that the Raptors have the defensive personnel to be better than they really are with Scotty Barnes in the lineup, without Emmanuel Quickly, without Bruce Brown, who are, in theory at least, potentially positive defenders and definitely a lot more positive than some of the players you're playing right now. I do believe that the Raptors have no better a ceiling currently as constructed with the regression that Jakob Poeltl has suffered, with the absolute pylon that RJ Barrett and Grady Dick are. I don't think they can be better than a 16th, 15th, 14th ranked defense. So yeah, Sean, always appreciate you. Big W for this content. And yeah, hopefully we'll have AC on after a Raptors Pistons game or something. That'd be really cool. All right. I'm gonna talk to y'all later. Thank you for tuning in. I'm probably gonna clip up the part where awful coaching came on, and just maybe sequence it out tomorrow. But to anyone who caught this, towards the end, hopefully this was a pretty cool treat at 4:30 in the morning. That's funny. AG saying W, this was sick. Yeah, it was awesome. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one. And thank you so much for the support, and post it as a video. I probably will. Yeah. Talk to y'all later. Bye.